Hello, this is Oscar here from datasciencetopics.com. Today we'll be covering part of the meat and potato of this whole Python for Beginner class, and we'll be discussing control flow and decision making. Now, if you have not watched my previous video, I have covered how to install Python, how to create your own virtual environment. We have discussed strings, lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries, and if you have not watched any of these videos, I highly encourage to do so before you jump into this course because I don't want you to be confused and get discouraged along the way. So, um, without wasting time, let's talk about what we're going to be covering. So, we will be covering how to launch a Python command from the terminal. We're going to talk about conditional statements in decision making. We're going to cover loops. We're going to learn how to use built-in functions and list comprehension. Now, in this course, I will have to split that into different chunks so that it don't get too heavy for you. And it may be 2 or 3 parts. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Now, without wasting time, let's talk about conditional statements. Okay, so here we are. Let me just make sure something. Yep. All right, so I'm going to draw a small diagram. And before I draw it, let's talk about conditional statement. You know, life is about making decisions, right? You make decision to go to bed and reap the consequence, or you make the decision, a decision to make some purchase and reap the consequence. So there are so many decisions that you make, good or bad, okay, that can lead to consequences. Now, in the process of making decision, there is the action. There are two parts: the action and the consequence, okay, or result. The action is characterized by um, the if statement, and the consequence is characterized by the then statement. Let's illustrate that through a small example. Okay, so say for instance, I am sick today. Okay, I am sick and I have to make a decision. Either to, if I'm sick, okay, I recognize I'm sick. That will be a if statement, and what will be the consequence of doing that? I will have to go to the hospital. Okay. Um, Now, there are two options, a yes and a no, in this specific case. So here is how I want to illustrate that. So today, this is, if I fall sick, if I am sick, if I feel like I'm sick, uh, I can make, then I make, or there's a consequence that I will have to go to the hospital. Okay, so that's what I want Python to do. I will go to the hospital. Okay, so here's what I mean to say. If I'm sick, then I will go to the hospital. Now, uh, I want my Python to evaluate whether I'm sick or not. And uh, me being sick will should evaluate to yes before I launch the print statement, the Python command. Now, if I am not sick, then let's not worry about it. It's going to be a no, right? So I want you guys to understand that the sick is the if statements, which is the action pretty much, and the results of this action, if this action is true, will be characterized by the print statements. Okay, so that's how I want you to understand that. Now let's translate that into Python code. So let's go back to our uh, um, Visual Studio Codes, okay, and have a I would say a state object, which I'm going to call true. And then here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say if states, okay, then the consequence will be that I am going to the hospital. Okay. Okay. If I'm sick, then I'm going to the hospital. So um, this is pretty much what I'm trying to do. So I'm here creating a state object which define whether I'm sick or not. Okay, so I can say sick equals true or whatever that is. Now the if statement is here, and once I write the if statement, the what Python will do is Python will evaluate whether this is true or not. Okay, but I want this to be true, so I already initialize the state object as true, and you may have noticed a column here, which is always at the end of the if statement, and then this column tell Python that there is a consequence or a result that needs to be made, and this part is the body of the if statement, and that's where a block of code can be written. Okay, so I'm going to be simple here. I'm going to ask Python to print, I'm going to the hospital. So another thing that I want you to notice here is that the indentation. The indentation is very important in Python, and it is characterized by four spaces. So I can count one, two, three, and four. So four spaces, and that's what you usually put under the if statement, or it can be a for statement, or it can be any type of loop. Okay, so be very careful, because if I put my indentation anywhere else, okay, like it's not gonna work. It has to be four spaces, either four spaces, or you can just hit a tab and it's gonna take you right where you need to be. Now, at the beginning of the course, um, I was telling you that we're gonna learn how to launch a Python file or Python file from the terminal. So without wasting time, let's launch it and let's see what happens. So I'm gonna have to write. So this is all the time. You need to have Python, okay, and then the name of the file, control that by, okay, control.py, uh, and make sure that your control.py is in your directory, your active directory. So this is it right here. The file needs to be under this path, okay? Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Now, by launching this, I can see the result directly in my command line. Okay, so I should be able to see print. I'm going to the hospital. Let's give it a few a second, and here you are. So we just learned how to launch a Python, or how to run a Python file from the command line, okay, or from the terminal. So this was an add-on, but here we're interested in conditional statement. So let me run this directly, and let's keep going that way. Okay. So once I run this, I should be able to see I'm going to the hospital. Uh, Now, also remember that by default, the if statement will always evaluate to true unless you specify a false. If you change this to a false, okay, uh, this this block of code will not execute, because uh, whatever happened after the if statement need to evaluate to true before any code under in this block works out or get executed. Does it make sense? So if I run this piece of code, you will notice that nothing will come out when I execute. See, there's no result. So always remember that the if statement always check the evaluation to true before returning the result of any execution code that comes after the if statement. All right. So sometimes in the process of writing your code, you might want to put a placeholder in the consequence, okay, or the result, until you know exactly how to handle it. Let us look at an example. So I have state equal false, for example, right? And I'm writing my code, I'm coding, and I don't know exactly what to do here. So I'm gonna put a comment. I'm gonna comment this code, which means that I'm not gonna make this code work, and I'm gonna put a pass. So what does pass mean? Pass means that I don't know exactly what to do, but I don't want my code to break at the same time. So I'm just gonna say if if I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write a pass, and I'm gonna still be able to run something. So let's run that in the Python terminal and see what happened. Oh no, this just ran a pass. Python terminal. and here you are. So nothing really happened. So pass, you usually use pass if you don't know exactly what's going to happen or what will be the consequence of your action after you write your if statement. Does it make sense? Okay, so now let's talk about alternative execution. Alternative execution. There are some cases where you have an alternative. If I am sick, then I will go to the hospital. Otherwise, well, what's going to happen? So that's what we call alternative execution. And let's go through an example. So um, if my my state is true, I'm sick, okay, and I can say I'm going to the hospital, right? Now there will be another else statement. If I'm not sick, what do you think will happen? Well, I'm going to work. So I'm going to print what I am going to work. Simple as it is. So now let's run this code and see what the result will be. So we know that I am sick, and I will expect the code to give me to return I'm going to the hospital. Okay. So I don't know why. So the cell is still executing. Let's see. Okay, so I have not. It doesn't look like I have run this yet. All right. And here you go. I'm going to the hospital now. If so, what's happened here is that uh, because this is true, okay, uh, this consequence or this result was executed. Okay. Now, if I put if I put false, because the false would be the alternative, and unfortunately, I have put the state to be true. So if I put this to false, you will see that the second the alternative will be executed and not the first condition. So let's run all this. So I'm going to work because my state is good. I am not sick, really. That's pretty much what it means. Now, I hope you understand this. So you can run different alternatives along the way. So you can have um, also another kind of statement called Elif. Okay. So let's go through that real quick. So Elif. Let's not cover that right now. Let's go through this if and else. Okay. Now, so we already explained what this code means. Okay, and now let's talk about multiple alternatives. Okay, and that's where I'm about to talk about Elif. Let's create a small scenario, and in this scenario, there are situations where there are multiple alternatives, right? Um, Say for instance, I want to talk about a certain income for the year, and I want to calculate a bonus based on a certain income threshold, right? If the income is less than 100,000, I will have my bonus to be zero. My bonus percentage to be zero. If the income is less than 300,000, then the bonus will be 2%. If the income is less than 500,000, the bonus would be 3%. Otherwise, the bonus would be 5%. So let's translate that into codes real quick. I'm going to erase this. I don't have to erase this. Let me just go to the next line. So say for instance, and usually when you go to alternatives like that, or when you go with the if statement, you usually start with initializing some object. Okay, so I have my default my income to be 150,000, and let's not even worry about it right now. Let's start creating our if statement. So if my income, okay, is less than 100,000, okay, um, then my bonus equals zero. That's what I want. That's the consequence. Okay. Now, remember we talk about using Elif because we have multiple statements. We have more than two. Okay. So Elif income, if it's less than 300,000, then my bonus will be 2%. Okay. Elif, so I have multiple alternatives here. Elif, my income is less than 500,000, then my bonus equals 0.03, which is 3%. Okay. Now, these are all the scenarios that I have thought about. Now, in case none of these scenarios happen, um, well, I'm gonna have to say else, which is if in case none of these scenarios happen, like income less than 100,000, less than 300,000, less than 500,000. If none of this happen, then I want my bonus to be 5%. That's pretty much what this means. 0.05, which is 5%. Okay. Now, this is how I want my scenarios to run. And based on that, I want my income to be 150,000. That being said, let me let me run a print statement and say print, okay, uh, based on my income, okay, I will get, okay, a bonus of, so let me just put this. I'm about to explain you exactly what this is, okay? All right, so, and then I'm gonna put that format, and inside of my format, I will have income, and then income time bonus. All right, so let me explain you step by step what I'm doing here. I hope you understand already this. So these are alternatives, okay, multiple alternatives. And when you have multiple alternatives, you always want to have a default alternative. If none of these alternatives happen, then I want my default to be 0.05, okay? All right, so beside beside that, I want to my print statement to have this, right? So this is what the results I want the result to be. So here we are. Based on my income, these braces um, stand for whatever value I want to put here. And by order, I want the first value to be income. Inside the format statement, I want the first value to be income. Okay. Then I want the second value to be a product of income and bonus. And where are those values coming from? Well, these values have been already calculated at first. Have already been defined at first. I define my bonus, my income to be 150,000, and based on my thresholds, okay, Python will look for which alternative work best for 150,000, and we pick the right bonus and then do the calculation. I hope this makes sense. Now let's run this. Oh, indentation error. I don't know why this is happening, but let me go and do this manually. So I'm going to do income equals 150,000. Run this first line of codes, okay, and then do bonus equals 0, and then put a Elif here, and then tab bonus equals 0.02, and then Elif uh, income less than 300,000, then oh, I need to do the indentation bonus um, equals this should have been, oops, I made a mistake. I should have had already launched this. Bummer. I will have to start over again. So bear with me. If income, okay, less than 100,000, then my uh, my bonus equals 0. Elif Elif income, okay, less than 300,000, okay. Uh, then my I should have that in capital. Bonus um, equals 0.02, and then Elif income less than 500,000. I have my bonus equals 0.03. Okay, and then from there I will have else my bonus will equal 0.05. Okay, so let's run this. And I know that here my bonus should have been lowercase, but I hope you get to where I'm going. Now, I know that I should have my income to be 150,000. Okay. If my income is 150,000, then I'm going to have to use this and see what's going to happen. Now, based on my income of 150,000, I will get a bonus of $3,000. Now, why $3,000? Because we are basically having 150,000 multiplied by 0.02. Why? Because 150,000 is less than 300,000. Okay, it's less than 300,000, and it's pretty much falling into the bracket greater than 100,000 and less than 200,000. I hope that makes sense. So this is really this small piece of code. You can put them in a huge chunk of code, and this is usually how programmers use the if else statement. All right, so we're done with alternative execution now, and also multi-alternative execution. Now, there's a concept that I also wanted to talk about, which is called ternary operator. Now, this is a way for you to write some if-else statement in a short line of code or small line using just as less line of code as possible. Say, for instance, I have income, okay, and a bonus equals 150,000, and I want my bonus to be zero. Okay, so really here what I'm doing is, and I hope you getting what I did here. I'm assigning my income to be 150,000 and my bonus to be zero. Okay, so um, now I want to calculate what's called bonus paid. Okay, uh, so I'm gonna have bonus paid equals I'm gonna just going to do 0.03, okay, multiply by my income. Now, this will be my result if income is greater than 500,000, else zero. So what am I doing here? It sounds like it's a reverse if statement where I'm putting the results first and then the condition after. I want my bonus pay to be 0.03 multiplied by 150,000. Okay, just make it like that. Only if that income is 500,000. If that income is not 500,000, then my bonus pay should be zero. That's pretty much what I'm asking Python to do. And when I ask Python to return the results, and that's what I'm getting. What if I have 600,000? You will see that the results will be different. Okay, 600,000. And if I launch the bonus page, is what I have, and then you see now a calculation. All right, so let's talk about now looping. And after looping, I think we're gonna stop this video. Let's talk about looping. Looping is really executing a block of code repetitively based on some parameters. Okay, uh, there are two type of construct looping that people talk about, that we all talk about. There's the for loop and the while loop. Looping always needs some iterables. Okay, and the iterables can be strings, lists, or tuples. Okay, uh, which is an object that return one, and these list tuples and or strings return one of its elements at one at a time. Okay, now files and dictionary are non-sequence objects that can only be iterated through a method called that iter, and we're going to talk about that later. But let's cover just simple iteration using the loop function. Okay, so let's start with the for loop. All right, so we want to iterate over a list. Okay, so how do we go about it? We can say for number. Say for instance, I want to iterate over some number. So for number in what 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Again, here I'm still gonna have a column because I want my for loop. I want my number to be um, 1 second. I want my number to be, and then so you have this column. Every time you use a for loop, just like the if statement, you need to have a column. And again, here you need to respect the indentation, um, where you do the action, whatever action you want to take. Okay, so you have number. So what I'm doing here, I'm iterating over this list, and I want my numbers to be one by one, 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way on to 10. And every time a number is assigned to this this object, then I want to print it. That's pretty much what it means. So when we run this, here's what we get. So you can see that every number have been printed, and you can do all kind of stuff with this number. Okay, you can do all type of operation. You can raise it to the power 2. You can divide by 2. You can do -1. Anything that you want. Okay, but we're not going to spend time doing this. Another way of using the loop function is really use the range. Okay, so for number in. So let's see range, right? 10. I want to print number. Really simple. So we have uh, covered the range function in our last video, especially in the list, the video covering list. But it's really doing the same thing. But you need to be aware of one thing here, that the range function always start with 0. Okay, and you also need to know that when you want, because it's starting with 0, then you have 10 numbers, and when you have 10 numbers starting with 0, you know that your last number should be 9, right? Okay, so you want to make sure you understand that every first number in Python, when you don't, by default, should start always start with 0. All right, so let's learn how to iterate over another sequence of character or strings. So let me go over this small scenario. So say for instance, I have a list of foods available, okay? And I want yam, I have yam, I have what else? Potatoes, okay? I have bread, I have apple, I have sausage, and let's start with broccoli. Can't, I don't know how, I don't even know how to start broccoli. So yeah, see probably two C's. All right. So, so for instance, I have all this, and I am now understanding why. Okay, I have these quotes. That's not working. All right. So I have this list of food that I have available. Now let's go. Let's do this. I want to use the for loop this way. For position, okay, in range, and in my range, I want to use the length function uh, that want to count the number of element within my list called full available. And what I want to do is I want to print first the position of my list, and then uh, whatever foods really fall into that position. All right, so here let me explain you step by step what I'm doing. I have a list of food that are available, okay? And in my list, I know that I want to iterate over how many type of food do I have? One, two, three, four, five, six. Now, length of food available when I run it, when I launch this command, it should give me. I have not yet defined it, but let me run it here real quick. If I define the length of full available, I should have the exact number of this of element this is in that six. So I want to do a for loop uh, using a position. object, and that position need to cover those six elements. Okay, and those six elements will go from 1 to 5. Okay, so this will be the first element that need to be used. The second element, potato. The third element, bread. Now, what do I want to do? I want to print. And what do I want to print? I want to print each position. Now, uh, each position we have first the numbers from ranging from 0 to 5, which we have just covered. Okay, and then what does food available position mean? This means that let me just give you an example. So if I have foods available of position 0, and we have learned how to do slicing in my last video. If you have not seen that before, you should watch my previous video about that. So um, the first position is yam, okay? And as I mentioned before, every first position start with 0. So if I want to get position bread, then I'm gonna have to count 0, 1, and 2. So let's try that. Okay, so that would be bread. Now, when I summarize this, really I'm iterating over a list of range 5, okay? And each number of this range is evaluated and found. So position 0 is for position 0, I retrieve the corresponding foods for that position, and I'm printing it. For position number 1, I'm doing the same thing. 2, I'm doing the same thing until I exhaust the whole and complete list. I hope that makes sense. So let's run this snippet of code and let's look at the results. All right, so you can see that for each element you have the position number and the kind of food that's related to it. All right, so this code is good. I hope you understand it, but there's a better way of doing things, and that's where I want to cover. So there's what's called the enumerate function. Let's go over that real quick. So if I have my food available, okay, and right after I can say for position foods in enumerate, and it's coming right here. Enumerate, you can use the enumerate function over any list or tuple. Okay, and I want to do print. What do I want to do? I want to print position and food. Okay, so this code is much more simpler, and enumerate always return the number and the element itself, the position of the element and the element itself. So that's what the enumerate function does. And what I like about Visual Studio Code is that it tells you exactly what this say. Return an enumerate object, and the object gives you a pair of tuples, right? So you have 0 in sequence 0, 1 sequence 1, and so on and so forth. So when you run this, you should be able to get exactly what was given before. So that's why I love the enumerate function. Um, let's go over now iterating, how to iterate over many sequences. And this is the last part of this lecture. Let's go through an example. Okay, so I have a list of students. Okay, I have a list of students, and the first one will be Oscar, and then I have what's Carl, and then I have Kim, um, I have Zoe, I have Lane, and then I have Tom. Okay, so say for instance I have these students, and each student have a specific grade. Okay, so I have what kind of grade do I have? Let's start with 40, 50, 96, 82, 85, and 93. Okay, so I want my list to have a consistent size. Okay, uh, now I want to use a for loop. Okay, so using enumerate, we have already covered that. What would that be? That would give me for position. Okay, for position, student in enumerate, And what do I want to use? I want to use the student list. Okay. So I want to this time to use a block of codes under the for loop. Okay. So I'm going to have grades. I want my grade to be to take the grades list and to give me the position or to retrieve the grade of each person. That's pretty much what is doing. Okay, I want to retrieve the grade of each person, and then beside the grades, what else do I want to do? I want once I retrieve the grade, then I want to print. What do I want to print? I want to print the student itself, and I want to print his grade. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm using the for loop. Enumerate will give me 0 Oscar, 1 call, 2 Kim, 3 Zoe, and so on and so forth, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I know that, I'm going to have position and students, right? So the grades will take the first position, which I already know, which would be 0, and that would be equivalent to Oscar. And then for the second iteration, it's going to be call and so on and so forth. Now I want to print the result. So when I run all this, here's what I get. So Python is going to loop over these two lists at the same time and return the corresponding results at the same time, if that makes sense. Let's actually make this code better. Okay, how about doing that? And I'm going to add another component and another list. How about using location? And I'm gonna tell you the power of the zip function. So I have location, and I know that I can retrieve the location of each student. So the first one lives in Illinois, the second person Arizona, and then what else? I have Arkansas, um, California, maybe, and New York. Um, oops, New York, and then what else? Maybe Nevada. Okay, so I have those states, and each of these students are living in these states, right? All right. So here's what I want to do. I want to use the zip function this time. So instead of enumerate, right? Um, zip function is good. It's a great function. I love it. But it can use more than two. You can if you want to use more than two lists. Zip is definitely the way you want to go. So you have position, student, and then you want to add what? Location, okay? And then you want to use these three lists combined. So you're gonna have students, grades, okay, and then what? Location. So for those who are not familiar with the z function, I have covered that also in one of my previous videos. Zip pretty much create a tuple of elements and that it it puts together. So it's going to create Oscar 40 Illinois, call 50 Arizona, Kim 96 and Arkansas. So that's what the zip function does. It creates a tuples which attach each element to its corresponding uh, element from another list. So that's pretty much what it's doing. And just to make it easy, I'm going to remove the grade because I really don't need it anymore. And all I need to do is just print students, grade, and location. So zip is very simple. All right, it can combine three or four lists at the same time, and you connect those element together, and all you have to do is iterate over any element under the zip function, and you get the job done. So if I run this, here's what I have. Um, I should be able to have I have students. I should have had students grade. Oh, there's something going on here. So for position, oh, I have position here. Okay, and I need to correct something here real quick. So I have students. I have oh, I see. For student, for position. Oh, let's see. Just bear with me 1 second. So I have student grades and location. Now I want my student, I want my student to be here, student. So I want student, each student in the student list, okay? And then I want each grade to be in the grade list, and I want each location to be in the location list. Now what I should have done is just maybe put a location in capitals to kind of differentiate, or and have locations, okay, and then put locations here as well, and go from there, right? So for each student, inside the students list, each grade inside the grade list, and each location inside the location list, I want to print each each element. Okay, so let's rerun this, and I should have what I want, or what my desired outcome should be. So I have Oscar, who are the grade of 40, and he lives in Illinois, and blah blah blah. So that's the power of using the z function in a for loop. Okay, here is my last example. What else can you do with through with iteration? Well, you can append list. You can create new list. Say for instance, I have my food available, right? So uh, let's use our example about food, and I want to create a list of maybe foods eaten, okay? And I want to initialize it. All right. So what do I want to do with it? I want to pass in the food eaten each element that are in food available, and we're gonna do it by using the for loop, and this is pretty easy. What we're gonna do is use for each, maybe, and you know, all these elements, all these objects after the for statement is really arbitrary. You can use any word that you want. You can use I, you can use J, you can use any word that makes sense to you, or that you want to use. So I'm just using for each, okay, for each in foods available, right? What do I want to do? I want to append. So I'm gonna say foods eaten, that's append. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put each element of it. So really what I'm doing is I'm the each object, okay, is being fed by each element from food variable. So the first iteration will be each will take the value of em, okay, and then yam will be appended or added to the food eaten list. So food eaten list is an empty list, as you can see here. And at the second iteration, potatoes will now be fed into the food eaten list. And at the third iteration, the same thing will happen until the whole list is exhausted. So that's what's going to happen. So let's run these two lists first and make sure that there's nothing, we don't see anything in the food eaten. All right, so you can see that this list is empty, right? Now let's run this loop function and see what the results are. All right, now when I ask for food eaten, and this is what I get. All right, so this was the course about control and control flow and decision making. I hope you enjoyed it. There is much more that we need to cover, but I need to stop this video so that you guys can digest what has been taught. I will don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content, and I will see you next time for the rest of this part of the lecture. Bye bye.